What's going on, everybody? Is What's going on, everybody? It's Davey from the 80s, and you are now entering the Cinema Chop Shop, so park your ass right there. And while you're there, don't forget to hit the like, the share, and the subscribe button. Also, if you check the link below, you see a Patreon account, and you click it. You can become a member. All you got to do is try to recommend movies and music and trailers for me to react to. So click the link, homie. Now, with that being said, we're here today with a freaking... I want to say it's a foreign movie, but I know it's not a foreign movie. It was filmed in Mexico. This movie is called Sangre, right? And this movie is directed by Alejandro Jodorowsky, who is an artist. And this movie also stars two of his sons, Alan and Axel, right? It also has a couple of other actresses, one by the name of Blanca Guerra, who I think she was in Mujer, which is a very, 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 very popular TV show from Mexico, right? Now, this movie is a very, very interesting movie because I believe Claudio Argentino, who's related to Dario, that's his big brother, he helped write the screenplay from it, right? This is a really, really freaking interesting story, and I'm gonna kind of give my critique. I think there was something done in this movie that could have been done a lot better, but I'll get to that when I get to it, right? So the movie follows the story of a young boy who works on a circus with his father and his mother. Mother's a trapeze actor. She does aerial shit. Father's like the ringleader and the knife thrower and shit. And the mom, she's also kind of a part of like this weird kind of cult. And if you guys are familiar with like a lot of like culture in Mexico, you know that there are these people that create saints. They make saints out of random people. You know, it's a part of their culture in Mexico. You know, they do this. And one of the saints that she created, or she sanctified, or however you want to say it, is what she calls Saint Sangre, right? And it's the story of this young girl who was chased by these two men. They caught her, they cut her arms off, and then they raped her or whatever, and they left her to die in a pool of her blood. And they were saying, and I don't know how she's saying that that she became a saint, but they just sanctified her, right? And they created like a whole temple or whatever dedicated to it. This temple eventually gets broken down. You know, the government comes in, breaks it down. One of the priests comes through, listens to the story, says this is all blasphemy, it's all a ruse, and close the shit down. The father is like, he's like the atypical shit. Like, this motherfucker be out there, he be fucking anything, So while the mom's out doing her thing, the father's out, trying to get the new tattoo artist chick who he got for the circus, who's a part of his knife throwing act. So the wife sees this shit, obviously, the mom or the Ariel or whatever that she is. She sees this shit and she's like, she gets mad at, the main guy. He doesn't give a fuck though, he's on his player shit. He don't give a fuck. And apparently this man is a master hypnotist, so he can hypnotize you with a fucking knife. Dumb. When you hear this, dumb as shit. Like, that was like probably like one of the real highlight dumb moments of this movie. Long story short, the mother catches the dad. Like, the whole movie, I'm sitting there watching it and I'm waiting for like some shit to pop off. And I'm like, where's the horror aspect of this movie? This movie says it's horror. And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe this is one of those slow burn artsy movies that doesn't really like throw itself out there as horror. It's just like sprinkled in there like lightly. Maybe it's one of these things I gotta wait for, So once it takes off into the horror element, you really get a sense of it. It's more of a psychological horror, in my opinion, especially once you get towards the end. But I feel like they went I feel like they should have added in the aspect of who done it, and I feel like that would have made this movie a lot more better. because they give you the kind of give you the twist, and then from that point, the other twist is super fucking predictable, you know. So the wife catches, you know, ringleader man humping a lady or whatever, and she decides to go. She decides to fucking like throw acid at this motherfucker. She snatches his man's wig off like she snatches his man's wig off like she was breaking up a fight in the projects. Snatches his wig off. Man turns around pissed off. She throws the acid on his genitals. My man gets his genitals burnt to like, you know, toasty, that type of shit. You know what I mean? She reptile fatality is nuts. So what ends up happening is that this motherfucker gets mad. And he pins her against the wall. This man gets two of his knives and goes, and he cuts off both of her hands simultaneously. That man must have been swinging that knife hella hard to sever her arms easily like that. But whatever, I digress. Eventually, the boy witnesses this shit. The dad ends up killing himself. And then the boy ends up landing in a fucking mental institute. He ends up in a mental institute. And then eventually he starts seeing his mother again. And I guess supposedly she survives. Now, this is the part that where the movie gets dumb. And this is when I feel like the 2-hour mark kind of like drags it. The whole time I'm watching this movie and I'm just sitting there thinking to myself like, I don't think this mom is alive. There's no way in hell this mom's alive. She got both her arms fucking cut off. She's in rural Mexico. These motherfuckers are working at a circus. Like, y'all motherfuckers just threw this fucking elephant in the middle of a fucking wasteland. Like, you know. By the way, that elephant scene was fucking gruesome. Like, there's a lot of very disturbing cinematography in this movie. And the elephant scene is one of them. The chicken scene is another one. And then the scene where the boy's sitting in the room and his fucking nose is just pouring out blood. That's disturbing as shit too. You know, but I digress, you know. So there gets to this point in the movie where you're introduced. This is the stupid part about the movie, in my opinion. And, you know, if we're talking about this movie, I'm going to just assume that you've seen it. This is the stupid part about the movie that I didn't really like. I didn't like the fact that we're introduced to the killer, and the killer is shrouded in mystery at the beginning. You know, all you see is the killer's hands. So you're wondering to yourself, like, okay, well, you know, let's find out who it is. It's obviously not the fucking mom. The mom ain't got no motherfucking hands. So who is it, you know? But then they give you who the killer is, like, maybe like 20 minutes later, and you're just like, well, why? What the fuck was the point of, like, shrouding this killer in mystery if you were just going to give the killer to us, like, 20 minutes later? I felt like maybe this should have been something that was hidden throughout the whole movie. And then eventually, you know, at the end of the movie, it's revealed what really happens. And I feel like that would have been a big shocker, you know. But since you're already knowing, once you figure out who's the killer, then the next stage is to figure out, okay, well, there must be something more to this movie, you know. And then I was able to guess the ending because I was just like, well, I don't think she's alive. So this motherfucker must be a ghost. And Lord and behold, she was a ghost, right? The only thing that I didn't predict was I was like, this motherfucker's about to stab himself, supposedly trying to fight off his mom, and he ends up killing himself. But he didn't end up doing that. He ended up stabbing a ghost, and then the ghost was like, bitch, I'm eternal, and then just disappeared into the faded light. I was like, what the fuck? But anyway, the movie was cool. I enjoyed it. It's for its time, it's very artsy. It's very interesting. It's definitely a movie I would recommend at least seeing once. The cinematography is excellent. The soundtrack is amazing. I know it feels like I say every fucking soundtrack is amazing, but this soundtrack is really, really, really fucking good. And honestly, Sangre, that was another thing. I saw this on the cover, and I was like, yo, like, there's like crosses, and then you have the little mime chick or whatever like that. And I'm thinking like this mime chick was going to be like a central focus in this fucking movie. And honestly, she wasn't. She was like a background character. And it was weird because I thought that this whole movie was setting up two different stories, and eventually they were going to intersect. And it never happened. You know, like, we were introduced to the mime character, and the reason they kept her around is for the ending. And it was just like, even at the ending, you kind of didn't even really need her. Like, you could have just used this fucking imaginary friends to figure this shit out. It was just, like I said, like, it really should have been two characters. The little deaf girl. She should have had her own path. The boy should have had his own path. Eventually they intersect, and then that's what ends up happening. They eventually did intersect, but I feel like it was mostly the boy's story, And then the girl's story was just like, it kept being introduced to you so you don't forget who she is, or you don't feel like she was left out of the movie too much. You know what I mean? It didn't really feel like she was like a central part of the fucking story. It just felt like she was there for plot purposes. That's where this movie, in my opinion, fails. I know Sangre has a fucking huge cult following. This movie just got like a 4K fucking release, if I'm not mistaken. And it's been remastered. The movie is very, very artsy. There's a lot of freak show shit. There's a lot of weird shit in this movie. Like, seriously, I really thought that elephant was dead in this movie. I was like, they really cut this elephant's trunk. Thankfully, it wasn't. It wasn't real. Also, you had the fucking dude that took his ear off, and I was like, what the fuck? And then you had the fucking drunken army men that came to Mexico to look for a good time. And it was just, I don't know, man. A lot of it was just really just like dark, depressing settings and shit. And it was a mood. This movie's more like a mood. It's not really, and it becomes kind of slashery at a time. Like when this motherfucker was fighting, when this fool started fighting that fucking that he wrestler. Funniest shit in this fucking movie, dude. Funniest shit in this movie. You cannot make this shit up. This motherfucker fought a hermaphrodite wrestler. You can't make this shit up. That shit was funny as fuck. And I'm just sitting there watching this dude get thrown around. This motherfucker doing flips and shit off of chairs, thinking he Rey Mysterio, trying to 619 this bitch. And it was like, he was just getting thrown around. It was like, it felt like the Great Khali versus Rey Mysterio and shit. He was just tossing this shit. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Out of nowhere, get the knife. Motherfucker went, grabbed the sword. Motherfucker went 7 samurais in this bitch. That's enough. Like I said, like, it's just random shit. Like, it's so fucking random. Like, this motherfucker's a professional knife thrower, throwing knives at motherfuckers. And then it was crazy because he threw the knife at the girl. She's hypnotized and shit. She has no fucking recollection, no idea that this is happening. All of a sudden, snaps her out of the shit. She's like, starts coughing up blood and shit. It's like, dude, I know damn well your body would have responded to that shit. I don't give a fuck. And this motherfucker hypnotized you with a butter knife. Like, come on, bro. But anyway, I'm kind of veering off, but Sangre is actually a good movie, dude. Like, it's actually a really interesting movie, and it deserves the cult following that it has. I would definitely recommend watching it. It's a very, very original movie. I feel like they dropped the ball in how they should have revealed the big reveal. I feel like they should have held that in until the end. I felt like they should have kept it in the whodunit category. But, you know, I mean, I didn't make this movie, so it is what it is. Apparently, one of the screenwriters of this movie, he was actually working at, like, a psychological facility. And he was, like, collecting data. And I guess he, like, wrote this story while he was working there. And it was 3 minds that worked on this movie. And, you know, I wonder if that kind of fucked with the story. And that kind of made the screenplay a little bit scattered in a way. Because like I said, it's a pretty decent story. Like, it's a cohesive story. Like, it kept me engaged. It never was a moment where I was just like, what the fuck is going on here, you know? But it was kind of long. They could have cut like 30 minutes off. They could have like connected the dots a little bit quicker. They didn't have to really go through, take the long scenic route. They could have just kind of went there. But, you know, it ain't my movie. But like I said, I enjoyed it a lot. It was filmed in Mexico. So it was a fun movie to watch. It was a fun movie to watch. I recommend it. So that is my recommendation for In the Month of Madness, Sangre. I would definitely check it out if I were you, you know. So tune in tomorrow for the next episode of In the Month of Madness. I hope you guys are enjoying this segment so far. And adios and have a good day.